Welcome to KARS DELE Nordic Rally Championship after event review, and today I have Joonas Lönn with me. Welcome, Joonas.
Thank you. Hello.
So, round 5 is now done. Tight battles in snow stages. Quite typical Finnish Swedish snow stages, and well, very fast as always. Let's jump into the results then. Round 5 winner was Patrick Åkerfeldt. Patrick took the win again, and just little bit, well, is that little bit more than a half minute, Tommi Hallman on P2. Tommi had a good drive, but no chance to keep up with Patrick. And P3, Jonne Ollikainen, also around 30 seconds behind Tommi. So maybe quite a big gaps. Can't remember how big gaps have been earlier. I think Jurek was quite close on some rally, but now Jurek on P5 while Aleksi Paakkinen on P4. And then Jesse Turunen, Antti Erkkilä, Henri Pellinen, Elmeri Hytönen, and Oskar Esteves. Quite a lot of Finns in the top again. Not a surprise, really, because these stages are really suitable for Finns. So nothing unexpected, and Patrick took a clean win, I would say. Yeah, pretty much the only surprise I can see. Where did I check? Oh, never mind. That was that was my mistake. I read the wrong name. Okay, so yeah, quite a normal looking scoreboard, I think. And do you think there could have been someone in the top with those guys? Maybe Jurek a little bit higher. I think he made some mistake on the last stage. Was it?
I'm not sure. I didn't follow the rally a lot, but during the many years I've been Rittenberg's rally, it has been always like that Jurek is really good, like one of the best, many times the best on the tarmac, really close on the gravel, especially on the old stages, the original format or the original Rittenberg rally stages, especially he knows those really well. But then when we go into the snow, he's not as strong. He is good for sure, but not as strong. There's something on the snow driving that doesn't fit Jurek as well as then on the tarmac and gravel. So it's not a surprise in my opinion. And I think a little bit same words for Oskar Esteves as well. He's many times really good on the tarmac, really good on the gravel, but then when we come to the snow, he's dropping sometimes quite a lot even on the speed. So not a surprise. That is something we have seen, like, I don't know, already during almost 10 years in different kind of championships in Rittenberg's rally with these two really good drivers.
Yep, I think Jurek has been very strong on tarmac also, even though Patrick has dominated quite a bit, but still having a good battle. And nice to see that Tommi Hallman is also doing a good job there. Again, I think he didn't have that much time to practice, as we had the interview in the last episode, and he said that he's lacking a bit of time, so he can't practice as much as he would like, maybe. So I think still quite okay results considering the amount of training, and Alex is also doing quite a solid job again.
Yeah, like always, he's not winning, but he's all the time close. Sometimes on the podium, sometimes close to the podium. And even if he has a bad day, he's still somewhere on the between P5 or P10, so all the time scoring the points, and then at the end of the season he's many times on the podium. So pretty traditional way to drive the championship so far for the Alexian. I started to think a little bit still the Jurek and Snow combination, and I think it may be the driving style that we have seen from Jurek. He's driving quite understeer, at least on the tarmac. He's turning a lot inside to the corner, and on the snow, especially with the snowbanks that suck the car, it's not working at all. You need to take those snowbanks more while being sideways and counter steering instead of steering inside of the corner. So it may be that Jurek cannot use the snowbanks as well as many other drivers who like to drive more tail happy car or more sideways all the time. I haven't seen, or at least I cannot remember now, on board from Jurek on snow that is it actually like that. But I think that may be the reason, because it's really, really understeer the driving style that he is doing on the tarmac.
Yep, that's a good point actually, and I think he's I would consider him more as a tarmac driver, so the driving style is most likely more understeery, so maybe not as good on snow. Okay, yep, here we can see the rest of the results. Nothing surprising really there. Maybe a little bit lack of drivers. We had only how many finishers? 29. So maybe not as much as earlier, but still a good battle there through the field.
Nice to see one Slovakian driver there as well.
Yeah, something else than Finnish drivers. That's always nice. But then again, power stage results are very Finnish heavy. Only Oscar was able to pick a few points from there as a non-Finn, otherwise fully for Finns. And yeah, looks pretty much the same as the overall result. So Patrick took the fastest time, then Tommi Haalman, Jonne Ollikainen. Then Jesse Turunen was a bit faster than Alexi. But yeah, otherwise quite solid run for the other guys as well, and even found myself on the list. Quite surprising.
Yeah, and well, Jurek is missing then on the power stage list. He was on the P4 on the Rovelas, but I think the power stage, if I'm right, it was the Savopohja. It's the most Finnish stage you can get. So it's not a surprise that if there is people who are not so familiar with driving on the snow, well, the power stage was of course on the snow. If there are people who are not familiar with driving on the snowbank that catch the car, that was also a factor on the power stage. And then it was really a Finnish stage what comes to the road profile, a lot of corners over the crest. So all the factors in one stage, which is really special on Finnish snow driving. So on the other hand, maybe the most difficult possible stage for the people who are not so familiar on these kind of conditions.
Yep, and I checked that, it was correct. Jurek had some kind of accident on this power stage. He said that lucky to survive this runki, so something something going on there because he lost 1 minute 25 to Patrick.
Yeah.
So yeah, so he could have been in quite close to the Alexi, I assume, in the final result, or maybe even ahead of him without that final mistake. So yeah, that cost a lot. And also nice to see Henri Pellinen, the creator of the stage. So Henri created the Savopohja stage. Seems like he got a solid run there.
He should be at least familiar with the conditions and everything. He
Yeah.
should know exactly every corner, every snowbank, how much there you can cut or not, and all those things.
Yeah, actually he said that he was trying a bit too much and spun there. So quite nice result considering there's a spin. So I think he could have been quite close to the, well, for sure in top 5 even. There's actually quite a small gap in the top, or P4 to the P7, so good battles there.
Yep.
All right. I think then we can check the results of the series at the moment. So Patrick is leading, 2,600 points, but Jurek is not really that far away. 2,445 points. So there's still a chance. We have 3 rounds left, so anything can happen.
Yeah, I think we have never ever seen that kind of big mistakes from Åkerfeldt that suddenly he lost the flow. So in case it's most likely it will not happen, but if it would happen now that Patrick crash on the next rally and somehow lose the confidence, you never know what will happen after that, because we haven't seen that kind of thing yet, I think, ever. So there is chance, of course. At the moment it feels that Patrick is unbeatable. Jurek can be close, but he cannot win. But it doesn't mean that the situation will be like this forever. It's, I think at some point every single driver, no matter how good he is, he will have the bad day. And how he can survive from that, it's a little bit unknown, at least for me.
Yeah, that's a good point. Patrick really had a good run so far in all of the 5 rallies. So interesting to see if there's even one bigger mistake which will cost some time, how that affects and how it will show up in the result. But yeah, still a good battle between Jurek and Patrick. Also Oscar Esteves a little further away. But then again, Alexi catching Oscar quite a bit on this rally. Alexi was P4 and Oscar was P10. So now the gap between Alexi and Oscar is very small, considering how much you can get points from these rallies. So
Yeah, and I think it's just correct way that Alex is now chasing Oscar, because the next rally will be again gravel, if I'm right. So most likely the gravel will suit Alex better than, for example, a tarmac rally. So it's the right way, the order that Alex is now changing, and strong rally for Alex most likely is coming. So it makes this interesting in this way.
yep, that's for sure. I think we both know that Alexi is very strong on gravel, so I think he will, if he can do a solid run on the next rally, then we will see a position
Yeah.
change there.
But Oscar is of course strong on the gravel. I think it depends now what kind of gravel we will get, because I remember early on the season, Oscar and I had a good battle on the Australian stages, USA stages. He was really strong there, and I think he's pretty strong on the rough gravel as well. So maybe a Finnish gravel is the only condition where Alexi really would have a proper advantage. I think he knows those stages so well, and he's really good on those stages. But then if a rough gravel rally comes, then I think they can be a lot closer on the performance.
Yep, that's correct. We will see later on this episode what will be coming up next or in the next rally. So stay tuned. But yeah, I think then we could take a little look on. Well, actually, we can go through the points, and we can see still quite a nice mix of different countries there, not only Finns.
Yeah, and all the gaps are pretty small still.
Yep, and you can gain so many points that it's easy to catch even 10.
Yeah, and I
10
think the
positions
further
with a
we
good
go
run.
on on the results, the more there are drivers who are suffering that they are doing just so many mistakes. So if someone can now do a mistake-free rally, he can gain a lot of points, and who knows how many positions, maybe 10, even 20 to gain if they can just take out all the mistakes and drive a clean rally. So there is a lot of possibilities for big position changes.
Yep. And then we have the Nations Cup results here. Finland leading still. Patrick taking points to the Finland as usual, and the gap to Poland is quite huge now. So I think we are getting closer to confirmation of Finland being the Nations Cup winner, but there are still rounds left, so we will see.
Yeah,
And
but then
then
it's a lot more tight, and I'm really happy to see Germany who is fighting even on the P2, because when I think about the drivers and the countries, German is not the first one that comes to my mind that there is strong Rittenbörschel drivers coming. So it's nice to see that Germany is on the P4 and fighting for the podium.
yeah, it's nice to see. Actually, there's only like Finland and Poland are I
Yeah,
think they're only in top 5 biggest RBR countries.
and
But
Czech
then,
for sure. But they have
yeah,
their own plugin where still many of them are driving. So
yeah, it seems. But yeah, Portugal and Germany on top 5. So that's nice to see. And there's actually a good battle still for Germany, Portugal, and Poland. So let's see how that goes. And then rest of the countries, let's see how many. 19 in total.
yeah, well, it's not bad, but of course, I think it would be nice to see more drivers from other countries than Finland, like it has been on this season. But in general, 19 different countries, it's pretty good amount, I think.
Yeah, that's for sure. And still missing, as I've probably said on every time we have gone through this, still missing France.
Yeah,
French drivers haven't found this championship, unfortunately. I know there are fast drivers, but
definitely, like
well,
one of the best.
yep,
There could be drivers that are really fighting on the top, but for some reason, no,
yep.
not this time.
Well, maybe in the future if we will see another season. All right, then we could take a little video time, and we have Patrick Åkerfeldt versus Tommy Hallman on board coming up, and we will check how that went. So the stage is Savopohja, and
Tommy is smiling more than Patrick, so most likely Patrick is taking this more seriously. That is the first thing we can notice. It's difficult now to compare to watch same time the boat, but when they get a little bit of gap, we can almost watch like first the corner from the driver who's leading, and instantly after that the same corner from the driver who's a little bit behind.
yep, I think so far it seems to me that Tom is throwing the car way more
Yeah,
sideways on
definitely.
tighter, slower corners.
And I think Patrick is driving the corners like more long and slightly way. Tom is little bit, he wants to go more and more straight until he turns into the corner, and maybe he is a little bit late braking driver than Patrick is. So Patrick can then carry more speed through the corners. It's a little bit more angular in every possible way. How Tommy's driving is looking.
Yep. But yeah,
Both are
seems
of
like
course
both.
driving really good. But
Yeah,
it's a
both are using
little
the whole
fine
road.
tuning that you can start to be as smooth as possible, like Patrick seems to be. There, big slide from Tommy.
Yep. And already you can see how much the gap increases after the big slide.
Yeah, at the slide the gap is not increasing a lot, but after the slide on the following straight is so many times. That is the place where the difference really happens.
Yep.
You
I
need the
very
good exits.
really noticed that now when the RBR HUD got the delta bar and I turned that on and hot lapped a few stages quite a bit and noticed that you really losing those lights when you come to the exit.
Yeah,
Especially
I've
if
been
there's a
using
long
the
straight.
delta few years already, and it's always like that. It's always the exit and the next straight where the gap happens. So you really need to put effort to the good exits. Doesn't matter a lot if you brake a little bit too early, but as long as you get the good exit, that is the thing.
Yep.
And it's not a lot, it's like 1/10 of a second per corner sometimes that Tommy is losing, but it happens on almost every corner. So, and the stage is really long, so then the gap just increases.
Yep.
When
The
we would
stage is
compare one single corner, these are really close to each other, but just tiny bit almost on every corner. Patrick is doing sometime a little bit better, and then the gap is already suddenly 3 seconds.
yeah. And yeah, the stage is quite long and there are very much all the time turns coming, little rhythm changes, it's getting slower, faster. So yeah, now we can see that gap is increasing more and more.
In few places Patrick has cutted a little bit the snowbank where Tommy hasn't cutted. So that kind of details as well. Seems that Patrick can nail those on every single corner and Tommy is sometimes missing then. I don't know if Tommy even knows those little cuts that you can take, so maybe Patrick has done the rec and preparation better as well. Really learned where to cut and where not to cut.
Yeah, that's also one thing, and maybe one of those things where the amount of practice matters. Oh, if Tommy wasn't able to practice as much as Patrick, then you can already lose some tenths easily.
So, and one thing I've been saying about Patrick's driving many years already, that he's amazingly good to drive exactly on the limit, but never going over that. You know, I think on the hot lap situation and practice, many drivers can be close to the Patrick, but Patrick can maintain it on the race situation as well without doing any mistakes. It's really amazing. Maybe the most amazing fact of Patrick's driving and performance that he's able to bring the hot lap speed into race situation and almost never he's doing big mistakes.
Yep, that's a good point because as long as I've followed Patrick's doing different series, been quite surprised how he can keep up the pace all the time and really consistent driver, no mistakes.
Now the gap is starting to be already so big that this is difficult to follow and compare.
Yep.
Patrick is so many corner ahead, but I think the main points we have got already is a little bit smoother, a little bit slighter. Or Patrick can make the corners a little bit more slighter than Tommy is doing, which is a little bit explaining the gap and then some little details with the snowbanks as well. Nice send from Patrick to that corner. It wasn't so clean anymore, but
yeah,
Tommy did exactly the same. Those kind of corners where you know that if everything goes totally perfect, you can do it flat out. And then you just want to do it flat out, you know, even if it's not going totally perfect. You want it to force to happen flat out, which is not maybe the fastest way at all.
Yeah, there are few corners in this stage where it looks much tighter, but you can really go flat out. So
yeah, it's really interesting, and I will not say difficult stage to drive, but difficult to be fast because there's so many different kind of corners and places where to gain or lose.
Yeah, it's quite fun to drive, but
Yeah,
really notice that it's hard to be fast there.
again on the final junction, Patrick was just that, half a meter more inside, catched a little
Yeah,
bit the inside snowbank that rotated the car really well and he got a good exit. Tommy didn't hit the inside snowbank and didn't got so good exit, and a little bit he spent more time on the apex of the corner sliding away from the apex. So little
yep.
details during the whole stage, but on every single detail I think Patrick was better. And after, or how much was the gap? Something like 6 seconds or something like that.
5.8.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, well, a bit, but not too much considering the stage length. But
Yeah, and
it's
we need to remember that Patrick is the best at the moment, I think. That is the
yeah,
maximum level. No one is better. So that is the maximum at the moment you can do in Richard Burns Rally. So it's really tough to everyone to beat him. And it's not bad at all what Tommy was driving. We are just comparing to the absolute maximum level of Richard Burns Rally driving maybe there have ever been.
yep, and also uh good point related that Jonne Ollikainen was third fastest on the power stage, lost 13.6 Patrick, so 7.8 to Tommy also. So there are these different slots. Patrick is the ultimate top, and then Tommy is really fast, and then the other guys coming behind there, fast but still not on the same level as these two.
Yeah, I
So
think
yeah,
we could say that Patrick is 100%, and that is the maximum. I don't know what Tommy is then, something like 95, 97, but like no one is 101%. I think
yeah,
it's really on the
that's
maximum that Patrick is doing. What comes to the setup, what comes to the driving and everything, he's just so good at the moment.
yep. And also one thing we were supposed to talk a bit. We got the new car to the Rally 2
Yeah,
class, Toyota Yaris.
yeah, it was really interesting. Of course, Yaris and Fabia are fighting in the real life. There is clearly differences on those cars, what people can just see and what we have heard from the drivers. And now they are both in Richard Burns Rally as well. And people were talking about the performance differences of those cars. And at least now we saw that the three top drivers were using the Fabia. It's not
Yep,
a surprise for me because well, it has a better top speed, and there was variations, for example, on this road book where you need the top speed a little bit. And in my experiences, the Yaris is more easy to drive. It's really logical. It's somehow really smooth. It's stable. It's rotating better on the mid corner than on the Fabia. Not maybe turning in surprisingly so good than the Fabia, but the middle corner rotation is good. And it's just really easy and simple, logical, everything like good to drive with different kind of setups even.
yep,
Fabia, it feels for me that you need a lot more setup work to make like the window where it works is smaller. But even on technical gravel, I have been still faster with the Fabia. There you should not gain so much from the better top speed. But still, when you make that car to suit you well, at least for me, it has been faster. And also, I think it tells something that the really best drivers of the recent virtual world are selecting the Fabia. So at the moment, it looks that what comes to the pure performance, Fabia's better, but then I think Yaris is a lot more easier to drive. So I think many drivers will still prefer to choose Yaris. At least now on the snow and gravel, I have no experience on the tarmac yet, and we haven't seen the tarmac speed on KARS Championship either.
yep. I think exactly the same. The Yaris is very easy to drive, so I think maybe it's suiting better more average beginner drivers. But yeah, also maybe one thing, the car came a few weeks ago, so maybe people haven't got into that car making setup too much yet. But Alexi was the fastest Fabia driver. Sorry, I mean
Yaris.
the Yaris driver. Yeah, so P4. So you can still do a good time with that. That's for sure. The gap is not that big, but there is probably some gap at least on fast stages like these.
Yeah,
So
I would say it's a nice customer car, and then Fabia is for the proper aliens and hot lappers. That's how it feels at the moment, and I think it matches pretty well what I've heard from the real life as well. That the setup window of the RS Fabia is quite smaller, and it's not so easy to make good to suit on different kind of driving styles. But then we have seen that it's still really successful car when everything clicks together really well. And one thing I
yeah,
like to say still is that the Yaris is, at least I found it really easy to make good on the jumps. So one more point that it's really easy and gentle and stable and everything. It's just, at least in my hands, it's just lacking a little bit the speed.
yeah, that's for sure for the fast stages. I noticed that I did some driving with our Rally 2 cars and fast gravel, so it was quite clear that it's easier to gain some time on
Yeah,
fast
it is. And
sections with the Fabia.
you know, some people have calculated how much should it lose on the straight, and it doesn't sound a big. But then, for some reason, when you go and drive, it's surprisingly long. If there is some sector even on one stage where there's a long straights, doesn't need to be on the rev limiter even all the time, but it's
Yeah,
still quite a big to gain. And when you are fighting on the tight championship like this, you would not like to give like 2 seconds per fast stage away just only because of the gearbox. No, no way. Because
yeah,
even if the Fabia may be a little bit more tricky car to drive and set up, it's still cute. It's not like impossible to drive.
yeah. I think all of these Rally 2 cars are pretty easy and logical to drive. There are some
Yeah,
differences, and as you said, Fabia might be a little harder to get set up well, while Yaris might be a little all-arounder. But yeah, still quite easy ones to drive. Of course, it matters what kind of setup you have. Some setups are harder to drive, but yeah,
yeah. And anyway, it's interesting that there is now, even if the differences are small, there is some differences, and it seems to match that everyone are feeling the differences in the same way. So it makes this just interesting, and then it's interesting to see on the tarmac, does it change? Because I think
yeah,
all the features of the Yaris that I'm feeling other people are telling, those sounds like it will be really nice car on tarmac. The good mid-corner rotation on long smooth tarmac corners, it sounds really, really good.
yeah. That will be nice to see. And also, actually, Jurek was driving Yaris, so
Yeah,
and he was P3 after or before the power stage. So yeah, it can be fast, but I think you can still lose some time on these stages. All right. Yep. Then I guess we could check some ads. Want to thank our partner, DELE Nordic. Feel free to visit their web store for everything. A lot of sim gear and easy gear and whatever ever you need what comes to electronics. So thank you, DELE Nordic.
In the blur of the track, where engines roar. Drifting, racing, arts core, simulations thrill, speeds chase, in each turn, immersions embrace.
All right. Thank
so yeah,
you
I
once
think
again.
it's, before Dele and Cars found each other's, I haven't heard about DELE, for example, so it's working. I'm a little bit thinking of upgrading my wheelbase now. So, and now I know, thanks to this systems that KARS and DELE put together, that there is DELE, and who knows, I'm then getting my gears from the DELE if I'm updating. So, at least from my experiences, this is working.
Yeah, and they have a very good variety of different theme gear. What I've looked, I think there's not too many Finnish stores, or at least on here operating in Nordics that have as good selection of sim gear. So yeah, definitely check out if you need some sim stuff or other electronics. But yeah, then we can have a little look for the upcoming. So round 6 of the championship will start on 13th of March, and we have some gravel coming up, and we can take a little look to the road book, what we have.
Welcome to the roadbook presentation of round 6 in KARS DELE Nordic Rally Championship. Hassi, a classic from central Finland in its own right, as well as having been used as part of Ouninpohja a few times as well. This stage is super fast, so any hesitation will show on the stage times. The power line section is a fan favorite, as every year someone gets it spectacularly wrong. Vesala Shakedown. Shortest forest stage of the rally. It's been the shakedown of Rally Finland quite a few times in the last 10 years. This stage is fast as hell, with a few tricky breakings into hairpins spicing things up nicely. And the fast section between the trees is very much a win it or bin it type of deal. Vesikkola, the Pearl from eastern Finland. This one is a rather fast one as well, with deadly rocks waiting in the ditches for those who have not properly wrecked the stage's possible cuts. One of the few Finnish stages to have tarmac in the middle of it, and the field section at the end is bound to harvest a few cars out of the rally. Harju 2019, located in pretty much the city center of Jyväskylä. This classic from multiple decades requires a lot of precision, as there's some very narrow places on this one. Names like Didier Auriol and Lasse Lampi have left their marks on Harju's trees. Who will it be this time? Saalahti, another short but fast stage in the forest with very wide roads, lovely elevation changes and a super tricky last corner. I don't think differences here will be that big unless someone messes up the first corner or ends up in the trees. Myhimpää 2023, the longest stage of the rally that really demands and deserves respect from the drivers. This classic was brought back to Rally Finland in 2023 and it immediately delivered big time drama, something I expect to happen on this rally as well. And here's the full road book, first 2 loops of 3 stages, then some shenanigans for the casual public on Harju, followed by the 2 final stages in the forest being driven twice again, with Myhimpää being the final stage of the rally.
Yep, this one seems very Finnish.
It is really Finnish, and I think it's surprise from 2 different reasons. First, we just had a Finnish snow. So basically we have the same stages, the same road profile, the same everything, but just on the gravel now. And then when we think about the whole season, this is the last gravel rally of the season, if I'm right. That kind of 100% gravel rally. The first
Yep.
gravel was that kind of British, so smooth gravel. The second one was the Australian plus USA stages, really smooth gravel and pretty fast as well as is the British gravel. And now a Finnish gravel, fast and smooth gravel. So it is a surprise. We have seen on the national cars that, they are breaking the traditional and rules. It may be that there is not always the one rough gravel and one smooth gravel rally, which is basically good, I think. But now in such a long season with three pure gravel rallies, all of them are smooth. So that is a little surprise for sure, because one of the basic condition elements, rough gravel, seems to be missing. Of course, on the mixed rally, we can have some rough stages, but a pure rough gravel rally is missing. So it is quite a big surprise, I think.
Yeah, I think that's quite usual what comes to different series, that there is one rough travel at least, with some Polish stages and Portugal and whatever we have. So yeah, now we have some fast stuff coming up again. Let's see, we have Hassi, Vesala, Vesikkola on the first loop, and then we do those same again.
Those are not really similar stages together. Hassi is a proper, a little bit how was the power stage of the last rally.
Yeah,
Medium and tight corners over the crests, some faster as well. Pretty flowy and difficult finish stage. Vesala then is really fast and more straightforward. Vesikkola, there's a little bit of everything, so pretty different kind of stages, and all of those as well, every stages of the rally, those are on the original format stages now, so which has been the normal of the Rally Finland in Ritzenberg's rally nowadays, the BTP format stages, that's now gone. So this is like a really modern Rally Finland what comes to the stage selection, and also the grip for example is now changing a lot more than it normally is on the old Rally Finlands with the BTP stages. And
yep,
of course
that's
there is now need to change the rhythm and feeling and everything. If there will be one BTP, one original format between single loop, it's just now original format from stage 1 to stage 12.
yep. Yeah, Hassi and Vesala got converted to the original format lately, so
Yep.
nice to see those, even though they seem to be on dry, but yep.
And I think it may be first time now when many drivers are really practicing the Hassi stage.
Yeah, I was just about to say that Hassi is much less driven. I think it was even banned from the championships at some
Yeah.
point when it was BTP, because it was way too heavy for some PCs and had some performance issues. So yeah, definitely not as much driven as some other Finnish stages. I think this is very different, like Finnish type of rally, because there are no, like, those very famous Finnish BTP stages like Mattila and
Pengonpohja,
Pir-
Ounipohja, Savo, all
yeah,
those Ritzenberg's rally and real
yeah,
life lessons are missing. Which is a bit
yeah,
same on the other hand. I think everyone can see the reasons why to use these modern stages, original format stages, and so on. But a little bit shame it is because the road profile of those, for example, we're just talking about Mattila, Pengonpohja, Ouninpohja, Savo, are super. So now those are missing. So it's a little bit shame.
yeah,
Who knows? Maybe those stages will be converted to the original format as well someday. And then you don't need to even think about that kind of things that we are thinking about now. And on the
yeah,
other hand,
hopefully.
those are so legendary stages and well-known stages that those has been used a lot. So at
Yeah,
least now we got a little bit something new on Finnish rallies, which is again on the other hand a good thing.
yep, that's true. So we have, I think Vesikkola has been used quite a bit lately. I think when it came out like over a year ago, I think it wasn't used that much in Finnish rallies,
Yeah,
which
not
was
at all.
kind of shame. It's very nice, different type of stage a bit, and yeah, now it seems that it's in every every series. So nice to
Yeah.
see that
I
people
think
have found it.
it's not from the central Finland. It's from somewhere, quite far away, if I'm right. So, and you can
Yeah,
see it. It doesn't have the flow and characteristic of the central Finland stages that are known from the WRC Rally Finland. So it's definitely, as you said, it's a different kind of Finnish gravel.
yep. It's, but yeah, I think it breaks the flow a bit after Hassi and Vesal there. So nice to see that. And then we have Harju 2 times. That will be, well, there will be some differences, but not maybe big.
Yeah, I think it's not seen really often like this, that we have same stage repeated like that.
Yeah,
And most likely the first pass through is not perfect for many drivers, and then they start to think they remember exactly the corners where they did a little bit too careful on the first pass through. Then instantly after that happens the second pass through. So maybe there is semi-high chance that people start to really push and then do some mistakes. Especially I think the condition will be different. It's new, most likely, on the stage number 7 and worn on the stage number 8. So there is a little bit differences on the grip and places, and the people really want to fix all the mistakes they did on the first pass through on the stage 7. So I don't know, that kind of thing comes to my mind from that kind of situation. But
yeah,
otherwise, I don't know if there's something really special, even if that is something that we haven't seen quite a lot, that the same stage is repeated like that.
yeah. And then last 2 loops, Saalahti and Myhinpää. And seems like we have some damp and wet. So I think this will be the final breakout point where the bigger differences might come, especially on Myhinpää, which is very fast, and on wet, I think it's quite slippery.
It is
So
slippery, and the crazy ditches that there is on that stage, it becomes even more difficult to get away from those when the grip is wet. So those will catch people. And yeah, a proper power stage again. It's a little bit like the power stage of the snow rally. Proper Finnish stage. All the time crests and turning over the crest and things like that. So yeah. I don't know if it's super tricky in generally to drive these Finnish stages on wet, because we are still on the gravel. We are sliding anyway, more or less. So now we are just sliding more on the wet. If you got the setup right and can maintain the good balance that you most likely have on the dry setup, then it's not super tricky on the wet, I think. It sounds tricky, but it's not as tricky, in my opinion, as is, for example, the tarmac stages on wet grip. It's
yeah,
more bigger change on the tarmac than on the gravel. But anyway, because of the PTB format systems that we were talking about, we haven't seen a lot of wet finish stages yet, so a little bit new it is for sure. But at least myself, I like it.
yeah, that's a nice change to see, because earlier every Finnish rally was dry. Maybe few those whatever hyppyjulma and stages like that on wet, but not really
Yeah,
including the
and as we both know, in Finland on summer it rains quite often, so it's good to have possibility in Risenberg Rally as well to run these races on wet, because many times
Yep,
those are wet or at least damp here in Finland.
yep, that's true. And unfortunately, we could have a interesting situation, but what comes to schedule, it wasn't possible. There might be some new, very nice Finnish stages coming up to the RSF very soon, but couldn't make the release for this rally, so those will be coming up later. But
Yeah, but
yeah, would have been very nice to see like totally new stages coming up, and people would have really have to start from the zero, practicing, making notes.
yeah, Hassi may be a little bit that kind of stage, but still it's
Yeah,
not
yeah,
totally new.
yeah. I mean, it's been driven a bit, but not really much on official championships, I think. So that is probably the closest one. Sure.
And
Yeah,
I think now that the new stages are coming on the original format as well, so it doesn't sound too bad what we are now waiting.
Yep. All right. But yeah, round 6 will be running from 13th to 16th of March. And here we have the calendar for the rest of the season. Then we have the round 7 on tarmac coming up on halfway April, and the final round 8 from the early May. And the final event will be tarmac and gravel, so mixed event. Maybe that's the place where we get the rough gravel as well, as Joonas
It
was
must be.
hoping. Yeah, I can't really come up with any idea what kind of gravel would be mixable with tarmac other than rough gravel. So maybe some, I don't know, Portugal type-ish.
Yeah, or
Spanish.
Poland, because there is both
Yeah.
tarmac and gravel
Yeah,
stages
actually
from
true.
Poland now.
Yeah,
Don't know. On the
must
Finnish
be.
or the national cars, we had how was it? Czech tarmac mixed with that kind of really narrow and technical park stages like the PTD rally sprint and things like that. So I don't know, maybe that's possible as well. One thing that came to my mind is now that we were talking about the fight between Alexi and Oscar, that most like we thought then that most likely it will be maybe rough gravel, where Alex is not as good compared to the Oscar than on the Finnish gravel. But now it came the Finnish gravel, so this is a really good chance for Alexi to catch Oscar. On the other hand, really important for Oscar to now fight back somehow on this Finnish gravel and then strike again properly on the Route 7 when we go to some kind of tarmac as well.
Yep. And this might also, depends how Oscar can do, but now when we have a very Finnish road book, there are also a lot of Finns driving. So there might be more change even if there's other Finns can go ahead of Oscar and Alex can make a good rally. So
that's a good point, and maybe same words for the Jurek now. If Jurek against Patrick fight, I think that Patrick will win again without any surprises. But there can be many people close to the Patrick on these conditions because for sure Finns know these stages really well. So important for Jurek as well to be pretty close and try to win all the small battles that there is, because I think it won't be a big difference is what comes to time if you are on the P2 or P5 or maybe even P7. If all the good Finnish drivers can do a clean rally, there will be a lot of drivers on the top with pretty small gaps, so everything matters a lot.
That's true. Yep. So that's what we have coming up next. I think that's also all we have for tonight. Once more, thank you DELE Nordic, and also thank you Joonas for coming as a co-host. And we will see you on the next episode or after review. But yeah, see you then. Bye.
Bye bye.